All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's webinar. Thank you for joining us for the Nutrition and Dietetics webinar hosted by K-State Online. The next screen will show you all the participants that we have in this tonight's webinar. I'm Jennifer Fortmiller. I work for Kansas State University Online, and I'm the admissions and enrollment coach. So I'm the one that can help students as they are coming in to this program and have questions about the program initially and how to get admitted into the program. Also joining us is Heidi Oberreiter. Sorry about that, Heidi. Heidi is the dietetic director, the director of this particular program. And so she'll be talking to us tonight, talking about a lot of the dietetics program. Next up is Carla Gerard, and she is one of the academic advisors for the online dietetics program, as is Jacob Fleming, who is joining us as well. And then Ashley Blake is the advisor for the nutrition and health program. And so she can handle all the questions related to the nutrition and health degree program offered by K-State. But we're very happy that you're here joining us tonight. And this is kind of what we're planning to talk about. We are going to spend about 30 to 45 minutes with this presentation, hearing about the two different degrees, the different options, and some of the details related to the program. We'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes for questions. So if you have any questions that hit you anytime during the presentation, we would ask that you would go down to the bottom bar on the bottom of your screen in the Q&A section. That would be the area where you can ask a question. We'll either be able to answer it there for you, or we may save it for later and have the answer towards the end of the presentation. So at any point, go ahead and write in your questions. We'd be happy to answer what we can, and then we'll save some to be answered live later on. Also down at the very bottom, you'll see the little chat button, and that is a place we'd like for you to kind of get familiar with as well. We would like, at this point in time, actually, if you don't mind putting in the chat where you're coming in from, where you're located, and then we're also going to ask another question, but we're going to put that in the poll. I think we're going to launch the poll about now, but we'd like to know which degree that you're planning to pursue at K-State, or which one is interesting to you, whether it's nutrition and health degree, the dietetics degree, or if you're undecided, that's okay too. But go ahead and answer the poll questions so that we kind of have an idea of the interest in the two different degrees that we have. And then also as a reminder, we will be recording this. It does take us about 7 to 10 days to get the recording out, but we will have that out to you and to anybody else who had registered for this event but was unable to attend tonight. So we will have that later on as well. But again, the chat, if you don't mind putting in where you're from, and then any of your questions put in the Q&A area. And if you have something that you would like to raise your hand, feel free to do that, and we can try to get everybody answered that way as well. We aren't able to see you, and you are muted. So if there is something that you'd like to communicate with us, drop it in the Q&A or possibly in the chat, and we will get that as well. So, okay, I think that's about all there is for the housekeeping part of this webinar. And again, we're very thankful that you're joining us tonight and learning more about these programs. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi. Take it away, Heidi.
Okay. I'm just going to make this, there we go, the poll's down, and oh, I guess I should go to my next slide, shouldn't I? Okay, so I am so excited to be here tonight. As Jennifer said, I'm the director of dietetics program, the undergraduate dietetics program at K-State, and my guess is that all of you are here because you're passionate about food and healthy eating habits. So you come to the right place, because here at K-State we actually have several different degrees that meet that need or that desire, and this presentation is helping you maybe get a better idea of which one's best for you. So this is all three of the degrees that we have. So you'll see at the top, this is K-State, and there is the College of Health and Human Sciences, and then the Department of Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health. And within that department, we partnered with Global Campus, and we offer actually 3 online degrees. The 3 that are in the red box. So there's the BS in Human Nutrition, and we call that the Nutrition and Health degree. We have the BS in Dietetics, and then we have an online master's degree called the Master's in Nutrition, Dietetics, and Sensory Science. We also have a PhD in nutrition, but we don't offer that in the online format. So we're really just focusing on the 3 that are in the red box. So since you voiced an interest in earning a nutrition degree, we put together this webinar really to help answer your questions in helping you choose which is the right degree program for you, because a lot of people will say, well, nutrition and dietetics, isn't that the same thing? And so we're going to hopefully answer that tonight. It is important to note, and I think I have a line here. Yep. The 2 that are in yellow right now, which is the BS in dietetics and the MS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory science, are both related to earning that RDN credential, but for 2 different reasons. And I'm going to talk about that as we move forward. Most of our students come through the BS in dietetics, but then they can also stay on and get our master's because a master's is now required. But again, we'll talk more about that as we move along. The BS in human nutrition, the nutrition and health emphasis area, does not lead to the dietetics credential, that RDN credential, but it does lead to being able to have a position where you work with nutrition education. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we move along. So the first question that always comes up is, what is the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist? And I like to answer it with this quote: all dietitians are nutritionists, but not all nutritionists are dietitians. So to me, the best way to explain it is that dietitians are a subset of nutritionists. So a person can get a 4-year degree in nutrition, the BS in human nutrition, and I would call them a nutrition expert. They've got a 4-year degree learning about nutrition, and so I think they have the right to call themselves a nutritionist. A dietitian is a little bit different. We're going to talk about the differences in just a second, because we're a subset of those, of nutritionists. Okay, so let's look at the specific differences. In reality, there is no legal definition for the word nutritionist. That means that somebody can read a book over the weekend and call themselves a nutritionist. They have the right to call themselves whatever they want, but dietitians, you can't do that. You can't call yourself a dietitian unless you've gone through the hoops to earn that credential. So nutritionist does not have a legal definition, but again, I want you to know that if you earn our BS in human nutrition, you are definitely a nutritionist and have the right to say that. I think it's just the people that self-report that they're a nutritionist because they just love nutrition. And so they'll have a blog and they'll be giving everybody advice. And you need to be careful with those people because they may or may not know what they're talking about. But the people that get our BS in human nutrition or our BS in dietetics, they know what they're talking about. So that's really what tonight is all about, is learning the difference between these 2. So nutritionists, I like to say it that people that are getting our BS in nutrition health, they focus on healthy eating, in teaching people about good nutrition. A dietitian, on the other hand, focuses on disease management. Now, dietitians, we do focus on prevention. A lot of us, that's our focus area. But the RDN credential allows you to be legally able to give what's called medical nutrition therapy through the nutrition care process, which is what you see on the slide. And we as dietitians are able to submit to health insurance and get reimbursed through health insurance. So really that's the biggest thing, is dietitians are that subset of people are focused on treating a disease and preventing a particular disease, whereas nutritionists may work on nutrition education. So not really doing the counseling side of things, whereas the dietitian is doing the counseling side. Okay, so how do you decide which way to go? Well, this is back to that slide I showed earlier, and you'll see that I put nutritionist under both the BS in human nutrition, but also the MS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory science. So even though the word dietetics is in this master's degree, in and of itself will not make you eligible to earn that credential. You have to start with the BS in dietetics, but now dietitians now are going to have a master's, and so some of our students stay and do our master's to check that box in the process. So we'll talk more about all these options as we move along. So how do you choose between nutritionists and dietitian? Well, it really comes down to thinking about the work setting you want to be in, what your daily tasks look like, but you got to also think about the academic requirements to earn that particular degree. So that's what I want to talk about for the next few times. So when we talk about where do dietitians and nutritionists work, you see all these different places on this slide, and there might be nutritionists and dietitians in all of those areas. The dietitian role comes down to if the program or that organization says, I want an RDN to fill this position. The RDN credential means something. It's a medical credential, just like an RN or an MD. And so across our country, when people see the word RDN, they know what they're getting, and they know the very rigorous hoops these people had to go through to earn that credential. So we may have dietitians and nutritionists in all of these settings. What will differ is what you're able to do. Because as I said earlier, dietitians are the only ones that can do disease management. They can help a person with their celiac disease, excuse me, or their diabetes. But dietitians also do something called a nutrition diagnosis. So doctors actually do the medical diagnosis, and then dietitians do the nutrition diagnosis. And nutritionists can't do that. And again, we're the only ones that can submit as a healthcare provider and submit to insurance to be reimbursed. So when we talk about those work settings, you'll see the two degree programs on the slide. And really, they're all the same settings, but we just talk about them a little differently. So the BS in Nutrition and Health can certainly lead you to a job that works for a community health center or a health department that does community programming, or nonprofit organizations, food manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies. You can do research, or you could go on to graduate school earning an MPH degree, or nursing, or a PA, or you could do one of the other fields other than dietetics. But the dietitian, leading to that RD and medical credential, we are everywhere. It used to be when I first earned my credential, we were in the hospital setting. That was pretty much it. And just over my short lifetime, we're everywhere. We're in management positions. We're in, I was a retail dietitian for a while. I worked for Hy-Vee. So there's all kinds of places dietitians go. And in fact, a lot of dietitians work as a private practice. So they can have an office just like a doctor has an office, and they can see patients that way. We do specialize in different things. And of course, that's for a whole nother webinar, but there are some specialties available within dietetics. Okay, the academic requirements. This is another sort of big difference. You'll see in the middle column here is the BS in Human Nutrition, the nutritionist. Over here is the dietitian, the RDN credential. You'll notice that the minimum GPA required to graduate is a 2.0 for the nutrition and health and a 3.0 for dietetics, a little bit more rigorous. The minimum grade in the sciences and professional courses for the BS in Human Nutrition, it's a C. You must get a C or better in all of those science courses. Whereas for dietetics, we ask you to get a B or better. Now, what you'll notice is the biggest difference between these two is what happens after graduation. The BS in Human Nutrition immediately graduates and they go find themselves a job, which is great. The dietitian still has a few steps to go. So they have to do what's called an internship, or you may hear it called as supervised practice. You think of it as clinicals when you hear about nursing or doctors. So we have to do 1,000 hours of supervised practice in the hospital setting, in a community setting, in a private practice setting, all of those settings. We can move around and get those hours, and that costs money. So I'm going to call it an internship for our presentation tonight. It does cost money, so it's like one more year of school, if you want to think about it that way. There are some that cost no money. So we help our students who do the BS in dietetics route find the right supervised practice to do. And in fact, as we're going to learn on a coming up slide, is that you'll likely be in the group of students that has to get their master's in order to become a dietitian. And so certainly we'll help you find that. And a lot of internships or supervised practice programs include both that 1,000 hours and the graduate degree. So really, you're going to do the BS in dietetics with us, and then you're going to do the supervised practice with a master's second, and then you take the test. So 3 steps. So this is a visual of the pathway to earning that RDN credential. Now, this is true as of today. So first you have to get what's called Ascend accredited coursework. Ascend stands for the, oh, you know what? And I'm probably, I thought I had it on here. maybe not. Accrediting Council of Education in Nutrition and Dietetics. There we go. It's our accrediting body. So they're the people that come in and say, K-State, are you doing everything you need to do to be an ASCEND accredited program? So we get checked on and we have to keep data and statistics. That's what makes us an ASCEND accredited program. And within our BS in Dietetics, we provide you all of the knowledge you're going to need to be a dietitian. The next step is that post-baccalaureate where you get your BS in Dietetics first. Then you need to go do that supervised practice program. And as I mentioned, likely you're going to be in the bucket of students that have to do your master's. And so you will apply to an ASCEND accredited supervised practice program that likely will include a master's. And then you'll be eligible to take that RDN exam. And that's where you earn that credential of being a registered dietitian nutritionist. So the post-baccalaureate options, what I mean by that is if you get the BS in Dietetics, well, actually either degree, I have both of them on the slide. So once you finish your bachelor's in BS in Human Nutrition, you can go right out and find a job or go to grad school if you want. You have both those options. Whereas I said with the dietetics, if you want to earn that RDN credential, you need to go complete that supervised practice that includes a master's degree. One other thing, if you graduate with our BS in Dietetics, you are immediately eligible to take the NDTR credential test. So this is a nationally recognized dietetics credential. It's supported by the same group that supports the RDN credential. And so you don't need any supervised practice to take this test. You pass our BS in Dietetics, and because we are an ASCEND accredited program, you immediately can take the NDTR exam and you'll have that medical credential and you can work in the field of dietetics. Or you can go on and do your supervised practice, earn that master's degree and earn that RDN credential. So you really have two post-baccalaureate options through the BS in Dietetics. Okay, so remember I showed you the visual of what is now, because right now to take the test, if you were going to take it tomorrow, you have to have a bachelor's degree. Starting January 1 of 2024, you have to have a master's degree. Now, I want to define who that is. To beat that deadline, last year, there was some students that probably could have still gotten through without a master's. I doubt if you're going in and just starting the bachelor's right now that you'll be able to beat that deadline, because you'll need to finish all of the coursework here at K-State for the BS in Dietetics in time to do the internship. So you probably need to finish all your coursework at K-State by December of 22. Well, guess what? See, that's a few months away. So likely not going to happen. And so likely most of you will have to do the internship that has the master's degree with it. So how does a person get the ASCEND accredited coursework and the ASCEND accredited supervised practice in order to take that test? Well, as I said, you can earn our BS in Dietetics, and then you will apply to a master's degree that includes the internship hours. But you can also we have an accelerated BSMS option at K-State, although if you have a previous bachelor's, you're not qualified for that option. But you could do the BSMS accelerated program here and then go off and find an internship somewhere else. So really, this one, you get your master's from us and then go do the internship at a different place. You could also earn just the bachelor's in dietetics from us and then do internship only, but that's only for people who already had your master's. So we do get the occasional career changer who already had a bachelor's or master's in something, and they come back to us and say, I want to be a dietitian, I want to change my career, and we can help them get through our BS in dietetics so that they can make that switch and earn that RDN credential. Well, those people don't need a master's because they already had one. So that's where they would do just our bachelor's degree and find an internship only program that they complete after they get their second bachelor's. There are also some new programs that have been formed in the last 4 years. And I don't want it to confuse you. So just know, put it in the back of your head that there's lots of options for you. So when you graduate with your BS in Dietetics, we have several options for you to follow, and we will be here with you to help you know which one is best for you. Other DPD programs in the country don't give you that support. And a lot of those students have to go out and they'll pay big bucks to other external organizations that help them apply to internships. Just like there's places that will help med students apply to med school. You don't need to do that. We provide that to you, and we will help you which one of these is best for you. So I've talked a lot about dietetics, mainly because, gee, that's the program I run, but I don't want to forget. Some of you may decide that the BS in Nutrition and Health is best for you because you don't know that you can get the B or better in the sciences. That's okay. You could go the nutrition and health route, and you will be able to find a position where you mainly do health education. And then, as I said, you could go on to graduate school, nursing school, PA school, get an MPH, but you wouldn't have to get a master's. You could just finish with your bachelor's and go find a good position as a public health nutritionist, a cooperative extension agent, a nutritionist that works for mass media or food-related industries. So there are options for you. I have to be honest, there will be more opportunities available to you with the RDN credential. So my advice is that if you can hack the sciences, meaning if you think you have the ability to get those B or better in the sciences, it would probably be smarter to go that route because you will have more job opportunities available to you. So this comes to this slide, and what you see on this slide are some nutrition search engines. And what I usually tell a student when they come to me and say, I can't decide whether I should go nutrition and health or do dietetics, I tell them to go to these websites and look for a job. And if all the jobs that you like, you read about this job description, go, I want to do that. Well, then look at what they require for the job. And if every one of the jobs that you like requires the RDN credential, well, that is answering your question. And then you should go for the BS in dietetics route. If the jobs you like don't require the RDN, well, then go the nutrition health route. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're to the frequently asked questions because we've done these for a few years. And so hopefully maybe some of these will answer the questions you've already put in there. Can I do the entire degree online? And the answer is yes. So as of fall 2021, all our courses were offered in the online format. So you can do all the BS in dietetics in the online format. Why is an overall 3.0 GPA required for the BS in dietetics? Well, the answer for that is this. Okay, our students graduate with we call it the DPD program, Didactic Program in Dietetics. They graduate and they apply to those external internship programs. The national match rate is 65. Ours is closer to 100. And part of that is because we ask you to keep an overall 3.0 GPA and get a B's or better in all the sciences and the professional courses. We want to set you up to being a great candidate for being accepted into an internship. And so if you come in and meet our requirements, more than likely you will. So my slide on here has 92%. I hadn't updated that since my last group. And we've now, I think, had 4 cycles where we've had 100%. So our students do very well when they apply to programs. Is there a mid-curriculum application required in dietetics? Meaning you get admitted to K-State, you take some dietetics courses, the sciences, and then you have to do another application, you're asking? Yes, you do, but let me explain why. We do that to prepare you for applying to internships. So by going through this mid-curriculum application step, you're testing out your ability to get accepted into an internship. And so we're able to work with you and say, okay, we're going to let you into the DPD, but you're going to want to fix your resume. You're going to want to get more experience. Whatever it is we think you need to do so that when you apply to internships, you are a really strong candidate. And I truly think that's probably why our match rate is so high, is because we provide you the support. You have to do the hard work, but we provide you the support and give you tips on, we think you should do this, this, this. And if you're willing to do those things, then you're likely going to get accepted into an internship. So what if one of you may ask, well, what if my overall GPA right now, and by the way, overall GPA means any college credits you've ever taken in your lifetime. What if my overall GPA is low due to my previous bachelor's? Because as I said, we have some people that come back in their career changers. Okay, you will want to confirm that you have enough time and you will have to take enough classes that you can get that overall GPA up to that 3.0 level by the end of the dietetics program. And when you get assigned an advisor, they're very good at helping you figure that out. But I'm going to show you a trick. So there is the URL you see on the slide. This is a calculator that you can kind of get a sense of what where you're at. So in this example, it's a person who's completed 60 hours of undergraduate work. So that's probably half of a bachelor's degree. And they have a 2.5 overall GPA. So to raise that to the 3.0, which is what we want you to have in order to graduate with our BS in dietetics, you would then hit this calculate button. And what you will see is it will tell you that to raise a 2.5 to a 3.0, you will need to get 30 hours at an A, or 43 at an A minus, or 101 at a B plus. So it will really help you stop and see if there's any chance at all that you can get your GPA up to where you must have it for when you graduate from our BS in dietetics. So here's another example of a person. This person has 130 credit hours. So they had a whole bachelor's degree that they completed somewhere else, and they got a 2.4 overall GPA. They need to raise that to a 3.0. For that person, you can see that it takes lots of hours. Well, the bachelor's in dietetics is 120 credit hours. So you can see that for that person, they really would have to get an A minus for most of their classes to get their GPA up to that 3.0. I don't want to discourage any of you, and we believe in second chances. So there are some waivers that we can talk about, but we want to set you up to be accepted into an internship because we want to keep that match rate as high as we can. Okay, so today's presentation hopefully helped you understand the BS in human nutrition that leads to being a nutritionist, the BS in dietetics, which leads you to being a dietitian. I put nutritionist on there because we're just step one, and then you got to go do your internship. And then the MS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory science is an online master's that we have that would make you also a nutritionist. So this is the email that you can use if you have questions. And hopefully you've been putting questions in the chat box, and we're going to have the advisors here in a minute go through those and ask some I get to answer, or some of them may answer some of them. But this certainly after tonight is a place you can send an email and get some more information. So Jennifer, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Heidi, for that great presentation. Yes, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. I know we've had a couple come through that have already been answered. We'll review those in a second, but I'll kind of cover this slide real quickly. The next steps, if you're ready to apply, we are ready to help you out. We do have some priority deadline dates for the dietetics program in particular, but also a good idea for those priority dates for our nutrition and health degree program. The reason we're calling them priority dates is that if you can apply by November 1, if you're ready to start for spring 2023, you will have a better chance of getting through all the paperwork, all the admissions process, and be able to enroll in classes. Now, these programs are pretty popular. The classes fill pretty quickly. So if you can hit that target date of November 1, you're going to be better set up to take the classes that you need. If you're looking to start in the summer, then April 1 is that priority deadline date. And then starting next fall, June 1 would be the priority deadline date. To get all the application stuff, we need to receive it by those dates. So we need to have the completed application. We'd also have to have the application fee paid. And then we would need all official transcripts sent officially from those previous institutions directly to K-State. And we'd have to receive all of those by November 1, April 1, or June 1. So that's why we wanted to have this webinar fairly early. If you're thinking about this spring semester, we need you to get on that pretty quick, and get those official transcripts sent in so that we can receive them by November 1. There are a couple different ways you can send in transcripts. You can mail them. You can also have an e-transcript provider send them in so they can be done electronically. And you can also fax them if anybody still uses the fax machine. We will accept the different faxes, but they do need to come officially from your institution. And other things to kind of keep in mind, we do have a webinar for transfer students. That's going to be on October 20th. So if you're interested in that particular webinar, we'd love to have you apply and sign up for that particular place so that we can talk to you about how to transfer credit, all the things that go into any of the different types of credits that we can accept at Kansas State University. And then also as a reminder, this is being recorded, so we will get that sent out in about 7 to 10 days. So I think we've got a couple different questions that are coming in. Jacob, Carla, Ashley, any comments or questions that you want to pose to Heidi at this point?
Yes. We have one. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
For those of us that simply cannot pursue a master's degree, can we see the same success as an NDTR? So if they become an NDTR, would they have the same success as an RDN?
There we go. That is a very good question. An NDTR is a dietetics credential. In hospital settings, they will likely work under a dietitian. That was kind of how that credential was designed. So you can kind of imagine how in a doctor's office, the doctor sees the patient for about 5 minutes, and then he tells the nurses or the other allied health professional in the office to do certain things. So in many ways, the NDTR about 10 years from now may be the credential that everybody wants, because you may be the person in those clinical settings getting to be with the patient the most, doing the education with them, helping them do the counseling, help them change their, to meet the diet that the dietitian sets up. We also have some NDTRs that work as a director of a food service operation in a hospital or a school K through 12, or a university dining center. That NDTR can be that food service director. And there are some food service directors that make way more money than some clinical dietitians. So there are really good jobs available. I guarantee you that would get you into a clinical position if you wanted to be in a hospital setting much faster than a nutrition and health degree if you want to be in a very clinical medical setting. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I did Google like pay scales. For the most part, it looks like an NDTR would earn less than an RDN. But like you said, if you're a food service director, that may not be true, and then NDTR might earn more.
Right.
Another question I did answer, but you may want to expand on it, Heidi. So same person, would I have better employment options as an NDTR or possibly as a nutritionist with the nutrition and health program?
So tell me that, read that one more time, please.
Would there be more employment opportunities as an NDTR, or would there be more with just becoming a nutritionist through the nutrition and health program?
Wow, you guys are thinking of some really stumpers.
The way
I don't have any data to answer that question. I think what's most important is use those search engines I showed you and look for, pretend that you've graduated with a BS in human nutrition and health emphasis, and find out if there's jobs available to you. And then if you find that no, there's like absolutely none that didn't require the RDN credential, that answers your question. The NDTR is not recognized. It is a national credential. There are some states where it's more popular to use that. Some states called the CDM, which is a certified dietary manager, which is not a full degree. That's I think you have to have maybe an associate's degree, but it's easier and quicker to get the CDM credential. Those people will work as food service management, whether it's in the hospital, a nursing home. So if that's a direction you want to go, the CDM is certainly a way to do that also. In some states, the NDTR has those CDM positions, and in other states, it's more of the CDM that gets those jobs. And other states, so it depends on the state really, which is the most recognized credential for that.
I do know that there are CDM programs that are just certificate programs. Barton Community College has one. And also, if a student completes the dietetics program, currently the way things are, they also qualify to apply to become certified through the CDM. Can't remember the name of the association, but there is one that one of the routes is to have a degree, a bachelor's degree in dietetics or nutrition. What I had told in answer to the question was having the BS in dietetics and then earning the NDTR credential would, in my opinion, give you more options. First of all, someone with a BS in dietetics should qualify for the same positions as someone with the bachelor's degree in human nutrition. And then the NDTR credential would give you even more options beyond that.
And it also would open up the possibility. We had some students that got to the end of their BS in dietetics, and they said, you know what, I've been trying to raise a family and go to school. I need a break. And so they'll graduate with their BS in dietetics. They'll take the NDTR exam, and then they'll get some work experience and focus on just being the NDTR, knowing they're going to apply to internships in a year or two. And so it can kind of be a middle stop for some of those students that maybe because of family and work and all these things, their bachelor's degree gets kind of strung out over many years. And so they often will choose that option.
Mm-hmm. Another question was, can I apply to the dietetics master's degree with a bachelor's degree in biology, or do I need to have a bachelor's in dietetics? And I clarified that, first of all, our MS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory sciences doesn't require a BS in dietetics, but it does not lead to the RDN credential. The only way through K-State, through online, is through the BS in dietetics. Those, I think, were the only questions we've had. If you have any other questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A.
I received some questions. One of them was asking that they had looked at the ASCEND website and had noticed the ISPP program. Can you explain how that might work?
Yes. To do that, I'm going to back up a couple slides. So, if it weren't, we love things to be complicated. So ASCEND does a great job at making it complicated. So I'm going to go back to this. Okay. So when I said that you need to do the BS in dietetics, that's the knowledge, then you go and you apply that knowledge in your internship or your supervised practice program. And most of you would be in the bucket of people that would do a supervised practice program or internship that includes a master's degree. So ASCEND accredits programs. So we are an ASCEND accredited DPD, and that DPD stands for Didactic Program in Dietetics. And so it's just the ASCEND accredited coursework. Supervised practice programs, the name of the ASCEND accreditation status is dietetic internship. So there was a time when we, ASCEND recognized that we didn't have enough internship spots. available for all the people that wanted to become a dietitian. So they offered to programs like myself that we could offer some internship spots without hiring a whole nother program director, which is by ASCEND's policies would be required. Now, K-State, we did not decide to do this, but we could have started an ISPE, we call it, and it would mean I, as the DPD director, would oversee the DPD, but I would also oversee an internship, which would be this ISPP, these internship slots. However, internships, you go through a computer matching process. So you decide, I'm going to apply to these 4, and you apply to those 4 programs, and then you're in the match, and on this 6 weeks later, you find out who you matched with. ISPEs were designed such that you did not apply to those until you went through the match and were not matched. So they were only spots open to people who were not matched at least once. And I sort of call it the second phase, because in the application matching process, it's really a 2 or 3 week process. There's a date you find out if you matched, and then a few days later, you can do the second phase. And the second phase is where those ISPPs are. So, and I think Jennifer had shared me that question earlier. And the question said, should we look at those from the very beginning? Well, I applaud you to ask that question, because I tell all my students, you should be looking at supervised practice programs from day one that you start our BS in dietetics, because you need to figure out what's out there, because there's 270 of them to pick from. And so I teach the careers class, the first class you'll take, and I give you the tools to do that, to research programs, because my goal is that by the time you get close to when you're going to be applying to programs, you have a list of 10 that you like. You're not going to apply to all 10, maybe you apply to 4, but you've already done that research, right? Well, as you're researching programs, you can note, if you're keeping track on a spreadsheet, this one has an MSDI, they're an internship that has a master's included, but they also have an ISPE, right? So you can keep track of ISPEs, and if there's a program you like, you just have to know that you can't apply to it until the second phase of a match cycle. So they are the same internship spots that are available in the first match. They're not like a watered down version. It's just the way to get into them is a little different, and you can't apply to them direct in the match. You have to apply in the match first and not get picked, and then you can apply in the second phase. And just so you know, if somebody doesn't get matched on match day, I always tell them, you can take a day and go eat ice cream and cry, because you know what, it would be upsetting. But you need to be ready to come back around. Here's an example. There were several cycles where on match day, my DPD graduates, the match rate was about 75%. By the end of the second phase, we were at 100%. So a lot of people get matched in that second phase. And again, we hold your hand through all of it. You do all the work, but we will be there to keep you able to work through what seems like a very overwhelming process. It's not rocket science, okay? It just seems way overwhelming because you're trying to go to school, plus apply and pick programs, and we'll help you through that. Does that help?
Yes, thanks, Heidi. That was really good.
So we just got a question. Someone who had been enrolled in an ASCEND accredited program somewhere else, but did not receive the bachelor's degree, because in order to receive the bachelor's degree, they were required to do 200 volunteer hours in the field. So the question is, would someone have to do something like that at K-State to earn the BS in dietetics?
We do not have a requirement for those volunteer hours. We used to. From day one, along with telling you to research these programs, is we talk about getting experience. And I define that as anything food related. You can work you can get a paid position working at McDonald's, that's food. You could volunteer for a community supported agriculture group or a food bank and volunteer for them, that's food related. The best thing is if you could shadow dietitians. It's really hard to get that in a clinical setting because of COVID, and they've just really, narrowed down on getting outsiders into health facilities. So it will make you a better candidate when applying to internships if you have some experience. That experience, like I said, can be anything food related. And I give you a sheet that has like 75 different options on how to get some experience. Things like I had a person who was a career changer, and she had, I think her master's was in something like engineering or bioengineering or something way over my head. And she was able to pull out some experience working in a biochemistry lab. We were able to pull that experience to show when they were applying to the internships, hey, this is the experience I have. So I call those transferable skills. And again, we help you find those. We help you look at what experience you've had and how can you pull out some skills to highlight when you apply to internships. Leadership, you can get that anywhere. Leadership, management, supervisory experience, the customer service. Even working at a clothing store, you have to have good customer service. And so dietetics is customer service. That's what we do, is we work with patients and clients. So showing that you have good customer service skills is important. All of that counts. So we do not force you to get a certain number. And I feel bad for that student that they wouldn't let her graduate, her or him graduate without those hours. But it will, if you have none at all, if you've never worked a day in your life or volunteered a day in your life, I will tell you, it will be harder for you to get selected into an internship.
Some of the other questions that Jennifer had heard from before the webinar, someone had wanted to know how dietetic internships are structured. Are they like a full-time job? And then what are distance dietetic internships like? Are they more flexible than the traditional internship?
Okay, Carly, you'll probably have to remind me of the second part of this question.
Okay.
What are internships like? I want you to think of it as a job. It's a full-time thing. A typical internship is you will be on site at that facility 8 to 5, 5 days a week. So it is not something where you can work a full-time job and do an internship. Now that's most on-site internships. Distance internships, we can be a little more flexible. There are some that even allow a part-time internship to where you can work some, because maybe you're a person who has to work to have money to buy food. And so you can do the part-time option, and it just means it takes longer to reach that 1,000 hours of supervised practice. So we will again help you find what internships, supervised practice programs are best for you. The distance, I do want to clarify one thing. People often think when we hear about distance education, and obviously all of you here tonight are looking for an online program because it's easy, right? No, it's not easy. It is, I can do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. I can fit it into my schedule whenever I want. Now, some classes have to be at a synchronous, show up at a certain time, but probably a vast majority of the online classes, it's in an asynchronous, get it done when you can. That is not the truth for a distance internship. Distance internships mean that you will find preceptors, meaning dietitians, in your local town that are going to lead you through the rotations. The internship itself will be guiding those preceptors, those dietitians, on what to do with you, because as the internship, they have to make sure you get exposed to certain things, because the internship's job is to make sure that you are what we call competent. So we look and see in an internship, we look and see, is this person competent in this? And they check a box, because that is how you get eligibility to take the RDN exam. So an internship is sort of school in that you're still being evaluated. The evaluation comes instead of from academic professors, it comes from working dietitians and food service managers that are going to make sure you can do certain things and be the eyes and ears of the internship in seeing if this person is competent in whatever the task is that they're looking at. So distance dietetic internships means it's still face-to-face, because some people will say, well, I don't want to do a distance internship because I really like that hands-on face-to-face stuff. A distance internship is face-to-face. It's just that you're face-to-face in a facility with a preceptor that you've selected. You'll still be in a hospital or a clinic or a food service operation that you've selected, and you're going to be in it face-to-face for that 1,000 hours. The difference is that for a distance program, you're going to find the preceptors. For an on-site program where you would move to that school or to that program, they are going to provide the preceptors for you.
Okay, another one just popped up. Do I have to choose an internship from the pool of choices you provide, or can I find one on my own?
You can find it on your own. If you think about it, last I had looked, there was 44 distance dietetic internships. All of them are going to be such that you have to find your own preceptors. So let's just say that you're in a town big enough that you could find a clinical dietitian in a hospital that will let you follow them around for 12 weeks. And then you find a food service manager that would let you follow them around for 8 weeks, or whatever the requirement is. Each program decides how long each rotation is. And gosh, read me the question again, Carla. I lost my train of thought.
Well, first of all, I want to clarify, because he was asking, do I have to choose an internship from the pool that we provide, or can they find one on their own?
No, you can find one on your own, but it has to be ASCEND accredited.
Right. So you can do the choosing. If you get a distance internship, you're the one choosing the facilities and the preceptors you work with, but it still has to be through an accredited internship program.
And once you found those preceptors, it might be that you're applying to 5 different distance internships. You're only going to get matched with one, but you found these preceptors that would work with you in any of these internships if you get matched. And then the internship is wherever they are located, are going to talk with your preceptors, and they're going to be talking to the preceptor saying, make sure that Joe does this or sees this, or that you get to watch them do this. And that preceptor will have to say if you were able to do that task.
All right, well, we are nearing the end of time. Certainly appreciate everybody attending tonight. If you have any more questions, pop them in real quick and we'd be happy to stick around and answer them. Otherwise, yes, we do appreciate you spending your evening with us, and we will get the recording sent out well. So last call, any other comments from the panelists here?
I would just like to thank the students that came. We're always excited to see new students interested in nutrition and dietetics. And we are here to answer your questions whenever you use that online. Jennifer, you better say it. I'm going to get it wrong. But use the email that she's going to tell you in just a second. And send us your questions.
KSU.edu. I'll put that in the chat as well. Forgot to do that earlier, but online at KSU.edu. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And anyway, look forward to applications coming in. Remember, the November 1 deadline is coming up. So let us know if that's the timeline you'd like to meet, or if you want to apply later on. We'd love to see your application at that point too. So, all right, well, I don't see any more questions. So we will go ahead and sign off for the evening. Thanks, everybody.